Lucia, hopefully if I get it right, or that's we tried to say the name correctly as possible, but the fantastic work of ŽIVA, and I probably got that wrong as well, but we're basically talking about the new album and then also the body of work. How are you? A fantastic album that's just come out and a lot of amazing performances too. How are you?
I'm good. I think I mean I'm very satisfied. I'm very happy. Maybe I should start again. I think I'm proud for the first time in my life. After I've released something, I'm still trying to slow down. It's been quite like an intense period to get this album out, but and now that I'm like trying to slow down, but in the past few days I tried to like just pause and realize that the album that I just released, I'm really proud of every song. Like it's, I don't know. I think I'm still processing actually. So there's not like a finite answer yet. But I would definitely say that for the first time in my life, I'm not judging what I've created.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because the process is so long between creating the songs and the ideas to making the whole album and then releasing it. It's a very long time, and then yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is like I actually was really incredibly critical throughout the process of making the album. Um, I think it was like a proper like mental turmoil where, at one point I was, it was really interesting that you mentioned Head Above Ground, as, one of the really like interesting tracks. Um, I made it really quickly, but then I sort of hated the song. I just wasn't sure what's happening. And then I literally was like, okay, I'm going to set it aside. I don't know, what is this? Is this good? So I had many moments like that where the tracks were being made very fast, but then I had a problem with myself of actually, is this good enough? Is this, is this fake? Is this really me? Am I, a lot of judging and criticism. And I think maybe now that it's done, I'm like, oh, I actually made the good decisions. Like I've decided to just like let it be and like really trust my guts.
It is because yeah, I think I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of the music industry formula of like I'm making this type of song. It's going to have
Yeah.
this type, like it's the opposite. That there's so many tangents and roller coasters in the album. So maybe that's good to let it sit aside and then bring it together as a whole body of work.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was there was a lot of thinking about that. First and foremost, it was like, everyone is talking about the waterfall strategy. You have to have all these singles out, and I was like, fuck that. I mean, sorry. I
Yeah,
mean, like, this is my thing. This is me. Um, for me, the most important thing is that I can look at myself in the mirror every day and really know that whatever I put out there, whatever I say, whatever I do, I stand right behind it because it is my identity. It's not like a hobby to me, this is what I am. So it was like I and at the same time, this is the only thing that I do, right? It takes many different modalities like installations, blah blah blah, but this is what I do and I have to make money out of it. So it was just this, like roller coaster of like, okay, so I really want to make it like this, but then no one will listen to it. But then at the end I was like, fuck that. I'm just gonna do it like I wanted to. And it's really now, I think that's why I feel proud, because I feel
Mm,
like people are responding, and yet I didn't, go with the strategic
yeah.
pathway. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, there's kind of two things there. Yeah, one, the strategic pathway is so horrible. Like, I
Yes.
deal with bands, and I play in a band as well, and it's just you know, keep releasing singles, and on the algorithm and all, this hideous kind of thing, and people don't want an album anymore, which is just like it's like a
Mm,
ridiculous
yeah.
concept. But at the same time, you want to be authentic and release something that is you. It's not like a commercial product, but then the risk of is you don't want to make something that it's so personal and that it's you're going to have a box. If it was a 7-inch single, you're going to have boxes of them under your bed because no one's ever it's
Mm,
so personal. It's that mix of the two.
yeah.
Um, I really wanted to talk on. I mean, a big part of it for me is the kind of the emotional architecture of the band or the project. So the kind of the press kit talks about driving towards perfection, that unattainable kind of perfection. But listening to it, I don't think it's really a concept album. It's more like a psychological confession. I don't know. That's kind of yeah. That's pretty deep. But also, was there a moment when you were making it that you had to decide how exposed you were willing to be, or did that not kind of come up? I know they're big questions.
Mm. No, that's a great question. Yeah, definitely. In many at many moments, um, I would think, okay, is this too much? Or often I would think, oh, is this the same thing again, but just with different lyrics? Or and then you feel all those sorts of things, like you really easily get into your head. Sometimes I would feel ashamed, or is this, am I running in circles? And at that point, that's when I had a lot of those moments, as I mentioned earlier. And then I think, but every time I would just think, okay, so this is something that I primarily need to do. Like I need to get it out of myself, because this is the only medium where I then feel better. Like I really mentally feel better, emotionally. I think a lot of things get clearer when I make them into a song. So I think the short answer is that I actually was fighting in my head a lot, but then I always opted for, like, okay, I'm just gonna go all in and really be honest here. Maybe it's not literal, in the sense that, like, what is the situation? Because I'm not usually like describing a specific situation in my songs. It's more just like the overall feeling and a relationship with myself that I have. But yeah,
Pretty
um,
open. I mean, I think it's yeah. I mean, I think that's a fantastic way of describing because it is very open. I mean, it's not as you said, it's not very descriptive of a
mm,
particular situation, but I mean, it's pretty raw. Like I mean, it's obviously a cathartic experience, and a lot of us use music for that. But um, yeah, the crafting of the lyrics too. I think it's very open and raw. Like it's a hard thing to do, isn't it?
it is. I think now that you're talking about that, even let's say head above ground,
Mm.
just because maybe it's mostly pronounced, but I think it's in all of my songs. Um, you know, when you have so many vocals, like they're, either you're not sure, are they talking to each other or whatever. The way that I do that's really not conceptual, that's not planned. The way I approach a song, I might have an idea. So, for example, that particular idea really began with, at the beginning, you have the guitar. And I was just like playing with the guitar, and I was like, duh, duh, and it just was really like, oh. And then I was really angry at myself, and I just had this like mocking moment, like I can be myself, like, but then while that was rolling, while I was like, when I recorded and I was listening to it, at the same time, I just had this really nice, melody, something that I wanted to sing. And then I started singing that. And then instead of splitting it into two songs, it was just, hey, I mean, I like this. It's interesting. And I think it's just allowing maybe for all those nuances of the same, I think we all have this to an extent, when you're maybe in a dilemma between a thing or, a situation it's not like black and white. There's a nuances of how you approach things or see things. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, wow, this is a beautiful day. And then it's like, oh no, this is a shitty day. I mean, so I think I just allowed for those two to coexist. I don't know.
I think yeah, I mean, it's like we were talking even before the interview. I think it's even when, you know, the sense of even different voices within a song, and I think that's that makes for a sound clash, but it also you really kind of you're thinking about the song as a listener, like you're thinking, wow, what's going on here? So I think it's those different aspects, not in terms of like, you know, oh, this is a mental health diagnosis, like it. I mean, I say that because I'm a
I
community nurse, but I mean
Yeah.
those flavors there, but it's also exactly what you said, like you have a day and it's coming in. I'm thinking this, I'm thinking this. Is it a good day? Is it a bad day? Am I shitty? Like it's that makes it much more kind of intriguing. Now you were talking about, I think, um, not here, but generally as like friendship fallouts and also the injury as well, that kind of was a return to patterns about losing yourself in the work and questioning your worth. That's a very kind of specific kind of pain and pretty raw. Did this a little bit what we touched on then? Is did it help you move through it, or did it kind of spiral to something else?
Uh, I mean, you mean like now that I've released the album
Oh, just
or
just generally in the
oh,
process, because you were saying about friendship changes, the injury, all that going on,
yeah.
as a general process. It's a lot during that time, and performing live as well. I mean, we'll touch on that later on with the injury, but it,
Yes.
it's a lot for anyone.
I mean, honestly, uh, I thought about it the other day. I was like, oh my goodness, I was bedridden. 7 months ago, I had a metal brace on me 24/7. It's sort of like now it's a bit foggy, dreamlike to think about that, but that was real. I'm still doing physio, like 4 times per week. So it's like still part of my life. But yeah, that was really hard because I think it was yeah, and the album making process reflected that a lot. I mean, because when you start having, friendships, I don't want to go for too long, but I think it's important just for the context. When I moved here, I moved with my partner, and then we immediately hit lockdown. And so it was 3 years of like just, I mean, not knowing anyone. And then, in 2022, I started ŽIVA because I was so lonely and just like so messed up. It's just like an identity crisis. And then it took me a while to make friends. But then in this process of making friends as an adult, it's already a very vulnerable and different experience. And then, last year I had a few fallouts with some of those people, and it really again sparked this situation. Oh, it's something wrong with me. What is happening? Like what am I doing wrong? And it just amplified all the insecurities that I already had. And then on the same time, I was building towards, this life, and then I got this injury. And I don't know, it was just really at one point like, what am I doing? Maybe I'm, living in this illusion. I really have this great idea that I really believe in, but at the same time, things in reality are not so great. So it was, I think through the album really helped me, I guess, deal with that and like just trying to understand, hey, I mean, I just have to again trust my guts. I just need to go with me, like not not care what other people think, and I don't know.
did you have a bit of, I mean, that is a lot. And I definitely want to touch on, the kind of beginning story when you got to Australia as well. But did you have that kind of sense of burnout? I mean, I know we all have that as creatives of like a little bit what you're touching on is like, what the, why the fuck am I doing this? Why am I torturing myself? Is it so suffocating? So yeah, I mean, we have those creative burnout and just the thing of life, with the friends and everything
But
else.
yeah, it's normal. Like it's,
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's part of life. And I mean, I'm now grateful. I think, yeah, it's really interesting. Look, I'm really honestly still processing the release of the album because something really clicked in me with the process of making it. And I think it was an incredibly important phase of my life. I'm not sure if it's finished, but like, it's at least it's like a moment in time forever now, it's
exactly.
archived, but captured. But burnout, I mean, I feel like I have a doctorate in burnout. I'm trying so much to like talk about it with others, to share experiences, to like raise awareness of it, but at the same time, I just suck at it. Like I really have a problem with let not going over the edge. Like when I have an idea,
Yes.
I am ready to die for it.
It car it carries through, and I'm trying to think of the song. There's a song where it says, like I can't remember which song on the album, and it's like kind of like I'll rest or whatever. It's like, and
Uh,
then you know the one I mean. I'm trying to think what it is because I haven't got it in front of me.
I'm maybe unrest.
Yeah, 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 because it's saying I can't remember. Yeah, the lyrics are phenomenal because it's like, and anyone that kind of has anything on the spectrum as well, no, kind of no self-reveal, but like definitely for myself about no, I need to rest and I need to settle and do
Ah, yes.
I need to have balance, but like, no, I won't. No, it's
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. It says like it's something like now I don't even know the lyrics, but it's like, I'll rest. I just need to do this one little thing and then I'll rest. I just need to do this one little and then yeah, it just snowballs.
yeah. I mean, I think that's what we touched on before. I think it's just yeah, it definitely resonates because it's so, like yeah, it's real life and it's about that struggle.
Mm.
What do you think are the main differences between your first release, which was very amazing as well, and this one? What do you think are the main differences aside from the stuff that we've just kind of discussed?
Mm. I think like the sound, I
Mm,
mean production, I think I definitely made a step forward. Like I think sound wise, just like technically and just the layering, the sound design is
mm.
much better. Like I'm quite satisfied. You know, yeah, I'm just really think that I made a huge leap with the abilities and just song even structures or I don't know. And genre wise, I think it's still all over the place. Like it's dark, but it's all over the place. But I also think that there's like this, like bam, it's like really like in your face.
Yes,
Each
yes.
each track has like this really strong, kick or like drum section. Um, it's like it's really cutting you like, right into the head, which I think I was quite mellow in the first one. Yeah, so I would say those are the first things that come to my mind.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
it's very sorry to cut you off there. Yeah,
hmm.
no, it's very punchy because as I said, like when in the review, I think there's bits that are almost like trap, but then trap music, but then other bits that are just like, like underground techno in
Mm,
a
mm,
in a dirty warehouse, like an underground illegal rave, like just where the bass is cutting through. But again, it's also punky as well. Like it has that kind of
mm.
the edge of it. Yeah, it's kind of uncompromising, but overall the sound and the layering is incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah, because and on that kind of note, because you wrote, composed, and recorded and produced this by yourself, one person, and I know you've got that background. How does that look like? Is it it's kind of like the window of the actual artist, not the romanticized version? I mean, that's obviously a main part of your life, as you touched on before. That's, yeah. So what does that look like, for you?
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, it looks like, I'm big on discipline. So, discipline is a double-edged sword for me. I thrive, but I also, yeah, I go deep into the hole. Um, it's all about just good time management and being disciplined, showing up. So, I just really had a serious like schedule in terms of once the tracks were done, like I did have some help on the album, just to be clear.
Mm,
So the process was like I would usually this is how it looks like. I sit down, I make music every day. I try to do it every day and like record. So I don't have any musical background. So I don't know notes. I don't know how to write music. I mean, like notes. Yeah. So I record a lot of stuff. I mean, I record everything. That because that's the only way for me to capture the idea. I usually work in the morning, um, and I would just like, yeah, just play around. Sometimes something comes up, sometimes no. I have this huge project in Ableton where I just have like ideas, like, maybe and usually I sing. I don't know if this is the question, but yeah, I can
No, no,
guide
no,
you
go
just.
for it. No, it's great.
Yeah, yeah. So I would just like sing, and then usually it's either the drum section that I try. So I like drumming or singing. That's sort of like usually the pattern that kicks off the song.
Mm,
Uh, Synths come later. Everything else comes later. Like the groove is what is, like really what I'm into. And then yeah, I would just like record that. And then sometimes I would just make the entire song on the spot. Sometimes, Undertow, I think I made it in 30 minutes. It was just like a flow.
wow.
It was just insane how it went out. Like Unrest, same, maybe like 2 hours one night. Like very little. So Undertow and Unrest, if I would just give you now the first version, Undertow, you wouldn't probably hear any difference. Unrest is like maybe a little bit because of the mix, because there was just so much drums that I put in. But anyway, yeah, and then I would like, push the song as much as I can, pretty much finish the song, and then I would send it off to my friends in Slovenia, a friend Nina. So she would maybe like polish it. It's called like final production because yeah, at that stage I'm like sick of the song. I'm not sure, I'm not thinking reasonably
Mm,
anymore because you spent, even if it's, yeah, only if it's one day, but usually it's like a week. And I also put myself some schedules. I would be like deadlines. I would be like, okay, I have to finish and export the version until Friday night. Just because I think uh, otherwise you could just have an endless, yeah, I mean, it's endless.
yeah.
And yeah, and then after that, after, sometimes, most of the time she would, be like, oh, this is all good. Maybe she would change the sound of the sub of the kick. And then I send it off to mixing and mastering to Europe, to another friend because I don't know how to mix. I mean, you do the pre-mix
Mm.
alone, but I like the details. I'm not interested. It's not, I just want to, I've done my part.
Yeah. You've done the creation.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I've let it out. So that's the process. I
Yeah.
mean,
I was gonna say, and you probably know of, Brian Eno, the famous
yes, I
electro.
mean,
And he does a similar thing, and that's what I was gonna ask you about because he records all these things. He's got this, so you've obviously got a setup ready to go that you can just
mm,
walk in and now he's got a setup. I've seen a recent doco, I don't know how many years, and he walks in and he records it, and now he's actually got a setup like an app or a program that has got all these things if he's looking for particular things. So he's got these huge database of all these things, even at his age, and he started so early, where and it's just incredible. It might be like a drum loop
Yeah.
or something like that. And it's just, to capture that then, like that's the,
Yeah, I've actually seen that recently. He had a conversation because of his book, What Art Does, on Apple
yes, yeah.
Music, and it's just like a short podcast, video podcast, and he was showing the program that he made, like a digital archive, and I am actually now working with my partner to make my own version of that.
Excellent.
Because yeah, so that's one of the things that problems I have is like yes, I do have this one project where it's like all the ideas, but sometimes it's a hustle to like go through every one of them. Like, oh, okay, let's see if there's anything good here, because now we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of ideas. So now I'm just thinking, okay, what could be the good solution? But I think the key, you know, the key to creation, I mean, it has to be easy. I mean, it has to be what you said, like I have it in my room set up and I'm like, let's go in that mode. And then I give myself time. And like, let's say I'm Mondays and Tuesday, I'm just going to do music. I don't want to open emails. I don't want to, I'm really trying to compartmentalize because yeah, one email can just fuck up my day. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It's true. Yeah.
So I don't want to think about, other things while I'm trying to like just, think about what is inside or just, yeah, just play.
And you want to capture it. And who knows? Because it's obviously, I think obviously you're going to be an artist that's going to be doing things for a very long time. And then even if you don't use it for this project, I'm sure in the future, and that's, as we said with the
Mm,
Brian Eno example,
yeah.
16 projects down the road, you can, you've got that archived and ready to go. Um, you you touched on how there's a bit of experimentation. I did read somewhere that even on one track you layered 15 synths and 10 snares in. So I mean, we talked about the capturing what you were doing, but the line between experimentation and perfectionism.
Yeah, I don't know if it's perfectionism. It's actually no end in sight.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I was just I just finished preparing the song for live performance. Which means that I'm like creating channels for each of the synths that I'm gonna play live. And I was like, whoa, why did I do? What did I do? It's so many. So it was um it was a challenge because but every single scene ended up in that track, and I think it makes a difference. I tried like turning them off to see, and it made a difference when they're not there. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep them. I just asked a few friends to like, hey, can you maybe EQ this so it's like but yeah, and in Unrest, like in almost like I think even in Idle Heart, I think there's like 10 snares or something. It's just insane. But it's all about the nuances, like
Yeah,
maybe it's like a high snare and then you get this maybe punchy rhythm. I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not overkill. It's like kind of in modern metal. It's like just
Mm,
hamming with guitars and overdrive and distortion. But I think and it's definitely one thing about it. I think I said it about one track, but I'd probably say for the whole album and even your other album as well. It's headphone. I mean, it's fantastic to see live, but the nuances. I think it's very you can pick up on it. It's not just like I'm going to have 10 snares for this, the sake of it or whatever, like it's very, it's
yeah.
got a purpose. A little bit about like the sequencing. I think the track sequencing on the album it's kind of like a thriller, you know what I mean? Like it's got
Mm,
that structural intelligence to it. Was that hard to get the structure or the order of the songs? Because it's pretty
yes.
important.
It was. I mean, I struggled a lot. I've asked also so many friends for help because, yeah, I was at that point to be. That's why, when you ask me how I'm feeling, I'm really feeling well, great, but also just still processing. Towards the end, the way I finished this album was like, okay, I need to release this because I'm starting to hate my work. I'm starting to have problems with my work. I was at that point, it was really unhealthy, like having that relationship with your work. And at that stage, I was like, okay, I now have to figure out the order of the songs and, just again trying to, okay, should I, how should I tell this story? And then, at one point I was like, oh my goodness, the tracks are too different. So how can I even like should I have like a, like you go, you start from the bottom and then you go up and then
Yeah.
what is it? I was even Googling, how to order the song. But then actually like I had a lot of help from my best friend Martin from Croatia. I was like getting to a point, okay, I had some ideas, like it was really like, okay, she's my God, it's gonna be somewhere. There was clarity, but the nuances were really hard. And yeah, I think I had like, you know, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10 versions of the order. I mean,
Wow.
probably all the combinations. I mean, not all the combinations, but yeah, it was down to having hopeless pleasures as the first one. But then the reason why I went with She's My God as the first one, because I felt that song, first of all, it was the first song that I wrote for this album.
Okay, yeah.
And the second of all, I think it's a natural continuation from the last album. I
Mm.
think it yeah, just has this, you still have this very simple moment with the tamburica, with the mandolin and with my creation. And then it sort of goes into this clubbing, like, okay, maybe announcing something, okay, something is changing. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, I think it's always a good thing if you haven't got filler songs because everyone's been in a band where like I know the opening track, I know the end and the middle. Where can we shove these ones in? You know what I mean? So because it's yeah, that's good.
I
That
mean,
says a lot about
thank you.
the quality. Um, one thing I think is super important is the bilingualism throughout the record, which you've carried throughout this project, the kind of Croatian and English coexisting. Because it's something more deeper than just being stylistic and kind of tokenistic as well. Because we were just talking about the sequencing, and I No End in Sight closes that album because it's reimagining a traditional folk song. Does reaching back to the tradition mean that you know, that link back to home? What does that feel on that for you? Because it's obviously, I mean, and plus what we were just talking about, it's a beautiful way to end the album, but um, yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, yes, I think uh, what's interesting about that song is that it really wasn't, again, intentional. I didn't make that song. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the traditional song Ljeljo and turn it into this like witch house song. None of that. I was just like, hey, I'm writing this song. And then I don't know, it was very natural. I started singing this, and I just felt like, you know, the way I see the album, one way of looking at it is, you know, constantly going, in exploring, exploring how much can I go away from myself and then come back. And I felt like, as you're listening to the album, I really go into the areas that are uncomfortable and unknown to me. And that even includes undertow, hesitation, and head above ground. For example, undertow is really something intimate and, like soft. And then hesitation is just, I wasn't sure if this is too much, too, I don't know, too decorative. The synths are really like, I don't know. I was,
Yeah, yeah.
like experimenting. And then Head Above Ground, which is like really, showing how I feel inside. But then No End in Sight with the Lelio just felt like, hey, I feel like despite the journey, I feel like I have a home within me. I don't know. It was just like
Mm.
I think I've settled my home from Croatia. I don't know if this is making sense. I'm not sure that I can
It's hard
express
to
myself
describe, isn't it?
well.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
hard to describe.
but I do feel like I arrived.
Mm.
I feel like I arrived and I managed to blend well my core identity, my creation identity, something that I, resonate with a lot. And I often felt very displaced. And now I finally arrived to a point where it's really well blended with the new identity, which is like strong, punchy, like rich, layered, so many scents, just like,
Yeah. No, it's great because I think it's, yeah, I mean, it's a personal journey as well. But I think also using the both languages, it's got a lot of power because it's just
Hmm.
even when the phrasing of it is just, it's very powerful. Like it's musical with the language, but it's also that punch as well. But obviously it's got
Hmm.
two sides to it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I mean, when you listen to the lyrics without like reading the translation, like, yeah, well, how do you feel? Like, do you feel something when I'm singing in
Yeah, yeah,
Croatian?
yeah. It feels very emotive, even though you can't, even when you hear the words, you don't know what. And I listen to a lot of other bands as well, like even punk bands from, everywhere from Japan to like
Mm,
Poland and that, where I don't, and definitely you feel that tone there in it. Even though, I think it's that just, I don't, initially when you listen to it, I don't think you need to read the actual translation. It's more in that processing of the song, but it comes through. It comes through.
yeah.
Like that's the, yeah.
Yeah, I always I listen to a lot, I grew up listening to some foreign bands as well, like from Hungary, like something,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it never bothered me that I couldn't understand
Mm,
the lyrics. So I agree with that. I think it's the energy, but sometimes it's different, when you're listening live and when you're
yeah.
listening, like when there's like a lot of vocals. Like, I mean, yeah,
No, I mean, I
thanks.
think it translates live perfectly as well. Like yeah, that's definitely. And I wanted to talk about live, particularly. I've seen you twice, and I've particularly Canberra, but that was an amazing performance. I think from just not only musically, but also um, it was so genuine, and just with the one person pushing through that. And then even I think when you said about there was a point in that Canberra gig, and you said, you know you didn't really make a big deal about the injury, but you said, oh, I did this because I dived off the stage and I fucked up my leg, and like just it was just but at that mix of, it was so raw, and then the cultural sense as well, from the dress and that, or what you're wearing, to the pure, power of the music. So how was that performance for you? I mean, I know there's never a half-assed performance from yourself, but
Thanks. I
and also
mean,
and also sorry to cut you off. That was the performance of the whole festival, and that was unanimous across even extreme metalheads. Everyone was talking about. Everyone was it. It was categorically.
thank you. I I felt great. I That's one of my favorite performances, and I think then it totally makes sense, this is how it was.
Yeah.
I went on stage and, after a few minutes, 5 minutes, let's say the first track, whatever, I just realized that this is, the channel has been opened. I mean, like, it's two ways. I just it because if you played in bands, it's mutual. And, if you're not responding well, if you're not listening, I can become too self-conscious, and then I feel ashamed and like blah, blah, blah. And then I don't want to do this. And during and after that performance, I just felt like I am at the right place in front of the right people.
Mm.
And it was so easy to perform. It was just like I would do it like now. Like I would this is that was, those are the moments where you like realize, oh, doing the right thing. I'm really doing the right thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's speaking to people and they're speaking to me, and like this is why I'm doing this. And yeah, I just had so many, yeah, I don't know. It's been a journey for me to
Mm.
find where I belong, not just in terms of geographically, but socially and culturally, and just I don't know, on many level, like or just on, I guess what is the called personal level.
Mm.
Um, and Canberra gig was one of the moments where I felt like, okay, I'm not, I actually am going into the right direction. And then after that, I had people coming to my gigs in Melbourne from Canberra.
Mm.
And now it's like, now the metal scene, the dark scene is really accepting me, embracing me, like inviting me to gigs. Because I would always, like I reached out to Dan. I was like, hey, I'm not metal, but I think you're gonna like me. You know what I mean? Book me
Oh,
for the
wow.
festival. It was like I was the one, organizing all my shows. And now after Canberra, things are rolling. So it was a big moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it was, I mean, and also probably two things that also, I mean, one thing was that also you said afterwards you had to jump in a car because I think you drove to Canberra and then you had to drive back as well. So
Yes,
that's
yes,
a not only
no.
as a, yeah. So with it, with an injury and like an amazing performance, but for people that don't know, it's like a 3-day festival at Canberra, and like there's a big stage with like everything from black metal, grindcore, everything in between,
Mm,
to a side room. And for people that weren't there, it's a um, noise acts, everything in between. But it was a very packed room, pretty decent sound, and just people that were, dripping off every moment of it. And it really, yeah, it was a fantastic mix of everybody in that room. And that's what, yeah, scintillating kind of performance. So,
mm,
yeah, that was great. Um, Now I won't keep you too much longer, because we touched on the live show. I wanted to touch on, so you come out of, you're in a pretty well-respected punk band, post-punk band, and that carries that through. What did you bring from that world into this world? Because that's obviously, because
mm.
how long did you do that project for? That
I
was pretty
mean,
well received.
12 years.
Oh my God, wow.
Yeah, so I formed a band when I was 14 in like the smallest place you could imagine in East Croatia, and then with my best friend. And then yeah, we played for the next 12 years. Yeah, it was like a proper, yeah, we toured. I think it was like 500 gigs. We went to Japan, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. It was crazy. Just like trio. What did I bring? I mean, it really formed me. I think what I brought is, I don't know, like the first thing that comes to my mind is attitude and resilience.
Yeah,
Like it was 2007 when we formed the band. It was the first female band in that whole region. And it's not just, it's not just the femme thing about that, but it's all about, having being 14. My parents would drive us to Bosnia to play because, we couldn't cross the border because and then we would go there and like play in front of hundreds of people. But it was like we had situations that were, unpleasant.
yeah,
I was the leader of the band. And then, every time we have to get the pay, it's like, hey, can you pay me? I would be the one waiting for the promoter after the gig. Hey,
yeah.
I need our 100, euros or kunas. It was like, so it was like a lot of those things that just made me learn how to stand my ground. And there was so many mistakes, with the releases, and sometimes you're happy, unhappy, and then you sort of learn those things. I think integrity and keeping your integrity and just, I don't know, yeah, standing firmly on the ground.
Yeah, I think a lot from that scene, you have a very good bullshit detector as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, and you can also pick they're there for the Instagram or these days the social media grabs rather than as you said, the integrity of the music. They're two very separate things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just always think, I don't know, like maybe this is not the great example, but like I'm always thinking, let's say you do go with the version of the song or the path that others think that this is strategically the best, and then it fails. I mean, you're the one staying with that. Everyone else, goes on to another project. You have to face that failure, and it was even based on other people's decision. Yet, if you make your own decision and you fail, at least you gave it a shot and you thought that this is the best decision that you can make. I mean, and with Punchke, with my band, we had situations. I will never forget that. The recruiters would call us up to do an audience, and they would be you just have to dress up in dresses and you'll be the biggest band in ex-Yugoslavia. And I remember I would be like, no, I don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a girl band. Like I
Yeah,
don't like I just want to be in a band. I mean, so yeah, I think, uh, but it was also like, you tour, you play in squats, you
yeah,
sleep everywhere, you meet so many people. I think, okay, sorry, another thing is also just community. And
yes.
I mean, that's why I respect Essence, and I want to play all the time at places like that,
Mm.
because this is what actually creates culture. This is what creates memories. This is what, what you're doing. This is what matters, because it's like palpable, it's real, it's so subjective. And yeah, it's like you know, that's what we should be doing.
That's the heart of it, isn't it? That's why we do it. Like that's
Exactly.
that's
Connection,
exactly.
exchange of experiences, tastes. I mean, yeah, everything, not just not general.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. Now I wanted to touch on, and I'm gonna because in the future I'm aiming to do a podcast with musicians about talking about stuff outside of music. But I wanted to touch on the stuff that you do outside the band, but there is that intersection there, we know, because you've got quite an amazing body of work that what you do as well, which is which I wasn't super aware of, but then when I went to the main page, I was like, wow, you've done a lot of stuff, whether it's installation stuff or
Mm,
because and you did that, what's it, the transhuman assemble,
yeah.
that stuff as well. Did you want to briefly touch on that? Because
Mm,
I mean, you're doing some pretty big work there, and because you're an
yeah.
academic, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, well, independent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, I lived in Croatia, and then it was like, okay, I have this successful music career, but you know, is music really going to pay you? That's the approach. So I have a master's degree in geospatial engineering. So I was like doing a lot of it, a lot of like archaeological work while doing music. I would be doing working on caves and like with LiDAR, remote sensing, blah blah blah. And then when I moved to to Australia, I've got a PhD in, it's like a combination in computer science, like human computer interaction and music technology. So the idea was, hey, I'm doing sound and engineering. I have both sides. Like in Croatia, I had to keep them separate. I want to bind them together. So I've started building this installation, which is pretty much like a technological choir. And again, it's not removed from ЖИVA, because what
Mm.
I've created, so it's like 16 bespoke machine singers. They're autonomous, which means that they made their own decisions. They sing, they use my voice, they sound like me. and they recreate a traditional way of singing and dancing in Croatia. So for me, it was like this idea, how can I use technology to reimagine heritage, intangible heritage, and something that I don't have access to right here. So yeah, I started building this installation. I had a few exhibitions. I just had a performance a month ago in Melbourne, which was packed and amazing. And so I also sometimes help other artists build interactive sound systems. So like let's say you want to make sure that this glass is like when you pick it up, it makes a sound. You want to have like an interactive
Wow.
experience. I know how to do that. So it's like a lot of fun, like with sound. I
Mm,
just make art with
mm.
sound, and yeah, I do. I also do commissions. Like I've just and like wrote a soundtrack for a piece. And yeah, just doing all those bits and pieces. And I teach a little bit at Monash University. I teach again sound in architecture, and so yeah,
That's a
that's what
cool
I do.
crossover. That's a cool
Hi, it
crossover, isn't it?
is. It
Yeah, yeah.
is. It is. It gives me a little bit of structure because just doing music, it's great, but you can easily get lonely, and like it's a lonely process, and like um it can drain you as well with the self-discipline. So this is good to like show up, dress up. I mean, just to have and do different projects.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, it keeps it interesting, but it's then
Mm.
fulfilling the soul at the same time. So what's coming up next? Sorry, I've kept you so long, but
It's
it's
okay.
good you're an open book, and these are things worth discussing. So what's coming up next besides the launch, which is which would be awesome with good artists as well. So I know you're still processing this, but is the is kind of Europe and the festival what's a projection for that beyond the launch show in Melbourne?
I'm actually going to go to Europe in June and have a few shows, but it's going to be headline shows
Yeah.
um, in across Croatia and a bit of Slovenia, not too many, because primarily I'm there to see family. But yeah, now there's actually a conversation about doing in the second half of the year to do a Australia tour.
Wow, that's great.
I mean, yeah, I'll see how it goes. I think at this stage I'm like still trying to put the brakes on and be like, okay, let's just now savor the album.
Ease in.
And then I think, yeah, I would say like this: June, a few headline shows in Europe,
Mm,
then ideally maybe some supports for bigger acts would happen,
mm,
um, and then Australia tour, and then next year, the first half of the year in 2027, I would go and do festivals because there's like a whole bunch of festivals that happen around like February, March in Europe.
mm.
But I don't know.
Is there any particular ones? Because I can think of one that you would be match perfect.
Roadburn?
Yes, 100%. Like and because it's just it's so curated. It's so I mean, and just
Yeah.
people that went to it, and I wanted to even go this year, but it didn't line up. But any year you go to, it's the bee's knees. It's the really and yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'll try to, because Dan from Essence was also like, hey, you should really reach out to them.
Mm,
So the plan is, I think it's only yet to happen now sometimes. So
yeah,
I guess as soon as it's done, or maybe now that the album is out, I'm gonna reach out to them. It's gonna be a cold email, but that's how I do pretty much all the time. You just until you make a connection. I'm just going to
yeah.
reach out to them and see. I think it's the perfect venue. And then if that happens, I would just build a tour around that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It makes sense. I think it's a good
Yeah,
match.
well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so my final question yourself, what do you need right now that you're not getting? I mean, obviously you're getting fulfilled by the album just releasing, so Yeah, that's the final deep question.
I mean,
We try.
I think I need some inner peace.
Yeah.
I mean, this is maybe too deep, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, it is, it is, it is.
Yeah, just not to think about the next step. And not because of your question or anything, just to like calm down.
Enjoy the process. And as you
Yeah,
said, because
yeah.
it's a, you know, as you've touched on throughout this, it takes a while for it to process and sink in. And as, you know, the reviews and then just as people's feedback, because it's obviously you're very reflective and insightful. So that's a,
Yeah. I
yeah,
really want to take it. I think it's,
take it
it's
in.
like, yeah, take it in. So that's what I need, taking it in, time to take it in.
That's it. Um, well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great chat. And I implore people to, oh no, I forgot one last thing. The 3D design for that.
Uh,
I couldn't leave that out. Sorry.
no, that's okay.
I had a brain fart then and I was like, I forgot to fucking ask about this, the limited edition CD.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that
Yeah, I
briefly.
mean, I wanted to talk about, I wanted to do it for so long because, ŽIVA
Mm,
means three things. It's a goddess that comes from the part of Croatia, East Croatia. It's like goddess of productivity. That's why the wheat. But it's also a verb, which means you would say, I am ŽIVA. Ja sam živa, I'm alive. But it's also ŽIVA when you pronounce it differently. It's Mercury. It's like the poisonous element. And it was intentional why I've called myself that way. So I always wanted to create something resembling Mercury, but out of which, I don't know, I just always had this idea that, this two combines for me, I don't know, conceptually, blah, blah, blah. So I was just, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it now. So yeah, I did that, and I had some help from a colleague to 3D print because I've never actually, I mean, created an object unless on 3D. So yeah, and I mean, the response was insane. I put the photos up on my Instagram and I was like, what the fuck is happening? I think I've sold like 15 pieces. So it's like 50 pieces
mm.
limited like edition. And I think I've sold 15 in the first like few hours. I was like,
Oh,
whoa, is
fuck.
this really good? I was like, well, okay. Like it's, I'm not a designer. I don't consider myself to be a designer. So, but it's really just nice to have a physical, yeah, I'm a sucker for those things. I just like yeah, it's a moment in time, and yeah, I'm happy I did it for myself. And then when I saw that people are resonating, I was like, great.
Yeah, people have got to see it. It's on your Bandcamp and
Yes.
it's it looks like something almost out of one of the original Hellraiser movies or even Terminator when he's melting, like it, and just the
True.
structure of it around it is fantastic. It's super unique and original. So
Yeah, thanks.
definitely check that out. And that's I don't think there'll be any left by the launch, I would say at this
I will
stage.
see, we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows?
Um thank you so much for your time. That's great chat and thanks for your body of work. It's incredible.
Thank you really for, giving me the space, to taking time to listen and to sharing your I really appreciate that. As I said, I have a lot of respect for your work. And like it's really a great compliment when a person like yourself, who I know that dedicates time to this and pays attention, find my work exceptional. So it's like, yeah, I'm flattered.
Yeah, No, thank you for that. I mean, that's as you said, even when you were talking about the audience, it's a two-way street where that feedback and that is very important if because integrity is obviously a huge thing, and being genuine. So thanks so much. I'm gonna.
I just want to beat this ghost inside and then I'll